Madeline, and
Again, welcome.
welcome. And I'm Madeline, and this is my place to display lots of pictures of the family.
Yeah.
And
Madeline, you were showing me the photo of you and your brother on the bottom left. How old were you in that photo?
this one,
Mm-hmm.
about 4, I guess.
4.
Yeah,
Wow.
Tell me about that photo.
you probably didn't recognize me there.
I recognize the pretty eyes.
Tell us about that photo.
This one?
Madeline. Yeah.
It was nothing. That was my brother. We were 2 years and 2 days apart, so Mom took us and got us our picture. He was, let's see, I was about 4. He would have been 6, and he was a good brother. Stanley's up here somewhere, but I can't find him. But he's there. You bet you I'd have to have a big magnifying glass to pick him out.
Now, who is that lovely young lady at the very top in the pink top?
Me.
How old were you there, Madeline?
A graduation picture, I was 17.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How long after that that you met Stan? You were 17. How old were you when you met Stan?
About 47. No, not quite that old.
Wow, so you had this entire kind of life before you met Stan.
I did.
But then you had a wonderful life after.
Yes, I did. Well, Stanley, I was in my 40s. I worked for Chevron. I knew of Stanley because I worked down in La Habra, and this guy, he kept sending all these big papers down there for the guys to read and study. And I took care of the library, so I was trying to file them away, and they kept coming in, and I thought, who is this guy? What in the heck is he doing? You know?
Did you ever think you'd meet him?
No, never thought about it.
So you never thought you'd meet him?
Nope. And I wouldn't have, but I happened to get Chevron was making a change in their their southern setup, and Stan had already gotten in, to his position, but I transferred up here to Bakersfield, but I had occasion. I worked with what are they? I forget things. Anyway, I worked with the engineers, but I was just a secretary type. But they sometimes sent me different places. I would go back down to LA to help them, and sometimes I would go over to the coast. They had some business going on. I got to go out in one of those where they were drilling out there a couple of times. Yes, yes. I thought that was pretty good. And then sometimes I came to Bakersfield.
Where'd you run into Stan at? What town?
Great. Well, Madeline, I really appreciate you letting us come to your home and just kind of take a walk through life. And I wanted to ask, what was life like growing up as a young girl?
It's a younger one? Well, I remember when I was 6, 7 maybe, and my grandfather and his wife had a 4-acre. Oh, there I go again. They were farmers, but just with 4 acres. And so they would have food for us. They had chickens and rabbits. They used to, and so we always had some meat. And it was just a lack of money, but there wasn't any. And as I said, my father, well, he was not decent.
Your mom worked very hard to provide for the children, is that right?
Well, she did, yeah. She had, I was just a toddler, and so Dale must have been about 3. And that was tough, but she had to make the change. But I can remember, it was just after the war, War One, and we lived in a house that was pretty nice, but evidently at that time, somebody had built quite a few houses there in town. I was in New Brighton, Pennsylvania, and people, the cost was very low because there was nobody buying at that time. So for a number of years it was okay. But then as I got older, things changed quite a bit, and we had to move and find a place, and it just went on. And Dale went to live with some relatives for a while, and I went to live with some relatives, that sort of thing.
Growing up, did you enjoy school?
One second, let's do that question growing up.
The same question, but this time we'll capture it on camera. Madeline, growing up, tell me, did you enjoy going to school?
Yes, I enjoyed school, really. It was my way. We didn't have parties and things. School was a party. Really, you were with people.
Which subject did you find yourself enjoying the most?
Oh, Lordy. All of them. I can't remember any one thing that I liked. I just liked learning what I did learn. Probably it wouldn't go today.
Pardon me, ma'am. I'm sorry, ladies. I think the audio's picking up a little.
Okay, we'll be quiet.
So in school, did you have many friends? Did you mostly play with your brother?
Yeah, when I was in grade school, I had a lot of little neighborhood group kids that were going to school with me, and it was fun. And we kids managed to have fun. We lived across the street from the baseball place there, and I can remember what most fun was after a baseball game. We kids would go over there and look for goodies underneath the seats. And we found some things too. You know, you could, at those days, we could get some of those packages where something was in it, and you could go and turn them in. Yeah, we had made a little money there, maybe 10 cents.
That sounds fun. Did your mom put a high importance on going to school? Did she encourage you all to do well in school?
She didn't have to. We knew we were going to go to school, and that's all there was to it.
Growing up and starting your career, you started working for Standard Oil Company? Around what time in life?
The first job I had was when I went to work for an oil company in Pennsylvania. It was Beaver, Pennsylvania. The school teachers told me about this place where I went and learned to do something, this new tool that they had. And I was amongst about a dozen girls. Well, two of us in Beaver, we were in Beaver, Pennsylvania, but at our school, two of us got a job, and that, as I said, I was 17, I graduated on Friday, and on Monday I went to work. I got $100 a month, and it was an oil company, but to this day I don't know what the name was. I can't remember. It wasn't the one I came to here, but it helped me when I came here, and I had a little bit of backing with an oil company. It was office work, but I got hired right away. And they got stuck with me for 32 years.
That is wonderful. And when you made the move to California, it was with Standard Oil Company?
That was my first one. When I came to California, that was Standard Oil for the first time. But 32 years there.
What was it like being a young lady working in the oil industry?
Hey, that was the best place to work. It was.
Why is that? Why is that?
Well, people were friendly, we made good money. Considering my $100, I made more out here. Yes, it was good, I felt very nice. My friend who came to California with me, she was a year older, and she was a secretary type. She went and worked for somebody else, but I liked what I did.
What I'm missing is the lady saying, I want her words saying, working for the oil industry.
Okay, more key phrases?
Yeah, because I got the answer, but we hear only the answer.
Right, we don't hear the question.
Yes.
Mhm.
So can you have her repeat what I like working for the oil industry? Only that part, because I got the
Okay.
answer.
Madeline, would you share with us, did you like working for the oil industry?
I must have. I stayed long enough. I got promotions, and it was a good job for me. I didn't go to college. I couldn't go to college. I had to earn enough to feed myself and my mother, and that's the way it was.
What did they call that back then, the type of company that you worked for? What did they call that, working in the,
Standard Oil.
yeah, but what kind of industry would you call that? Did they just come right out and say oil industry?
No, that was the name of it, and I remember when I had gone back for a visit to my aunt and uncle, and I told my uncle was very pleased when I told him who I was working for. He thought that was a very good organization.
Yeah.
At that time, it was.
What did they say about oil companies back then? Was there any sort of negativity about an oil company back then?
No,
Yeah.
there wasn't even here when I first started working for him. It's just now that we have all this crap.
Right.
Pardon me.
Quite all right.
No, that's fine. So if you were going to say what type of industry you worked in, other than saying Standard Oil, what would have that been back then? What would you have called it?
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Would you have said you worked in the oil industry? Or would you say?
Well, I always said oil when I came here. The other one, Nova, it was a very small oil situation there. I don't know, truly, I don't know, it wasn't that one, but it was part of the industry somehow or other. And
Was Standard Oil the largest oil company in the world at the time? Do you know?
I don't think so. I don't know, really.
Okay.
Shoot.
Did you feel that the oil and gas industry really helped shape your life in a positive way?
Well, it sure got me a good job, and that's what I needed. It was a good company to work for. And I think most people who still work for them feel the same way.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And you met Stanley, of course. Tell me, what was your first impression of Stanley?
Well, I didn't like him because he wrote too many things, and I had to take care of them. I kept getting all these pieces of paper, and with big, thick ones that he had put a lot of information on for our guys down here in where I was living, and it kind of tickled me. What am I going to do with all this? I don't have enough room in the cabinets, and well, I managed anyway. And then when I finally met him, I thought, oh my goodness.
Tell us again about the plane ticket Stanley purchased for you to go meet him.
Well, golly, as I told you, I was sent down here to take notes and things for the guys that were checking things here on the equipment. At night, I stayed at the same hotel as Paul. I don't know where the other two were. And Paul called me and said he had to go to the hospital. I went over there, I put on a robe, and Paul liked to talk a lot, and he was kind of a character. But he told me to call Stanley the next day, which I did. And then I went back up to by Baker up to San Francisco, I went back to the company, and he stayed in the hospital. And Stan went over to see him because they had known each other prior to that time. And Paul was on the phone talking about me. And he was telling somebody, and here she comes in her see-through negligee. And Stanley said, well, what about her husband? Doesn't he get mad when she comes down? He says, oh, she's not married. So, anyway, that's how we got acquainted. He called and told me that he had planned to ask me out to dinner, but I had already left. And I said, well, next time I come down, I'll let you know. Well, he fixed that. That was the next weekend. Sent me a ticket to come down, on the train.
Lovely. And your first date was
Yeah.
Noriega's restaurant.
Yeah. Did I say, not Noriega?
That's the restaurant?
Yeah, the Noriegas, yeah. And he had invited a friend of his, a couple that he knew, and they invited them to go join us. And we had a nice evening, and that's all you wrote.
That night, did you think you would go out with him again?
Yeah, I liked him. I thought he was pretty nice.
Lovely. Also, it's amazing. Both of your careers were incredible. Was education and science very important to you and Stanley?
Well, it definitely was. Education was important to Stanley because he did very well with it, but he had a good mind. And it was with me too. I was not if I had had a chance to go to college, I probably would have done very well, but I could not afford that.
And what sort of work did Stanley do with the company?
Okay, I got a whole bunch written down there. We'll read it. I'll show you. Okay.
Okay, did he invent different devices or different ways of doing things?
I think he did most of it in his later years. He did save money. And I remember when we got married, I said, do you want me to keep my own money and you have yours? And he says, no, it's our money. And that's how we lived.
Wow.
How important do you feel the oil and gas industry that you spent your life in and around, how important is that to this country?
I think it's great. It was a great, I don't know why people are so much against it. I'm very much for it. It has given a lot of people who don't have a lot of training in college good working positions, yes.
Do you feel, or what advice would you give young students about choosing a college? Stanley went to college. Some people never get to go.
Hey, if you get a chance to go to college, I think that's first class, because that'll help you with many things. Because I missed out on a lot, even though I was okay. I could never be better than that. I wished I had been able to have a bit better education. But I did the best with what I had.
Yes, you did. You did. If you could have studied anything in college that your heart desired, what do you think you would have studied?
Oh, good Lord. At this time of my life, what would I have studied? I'm not familiar with all the new things that are coming out, but one of the things I think a lot of kids should learn is manners. I really do. I see it, kids just don't. Well, I don't think parents have time to do that anymore. They both work.
Now, for a young student, we saw a picture earlier of you at 17 years old. What advice would you give to a young person starting their job or their career?
At 17, get more education. That's what I'd say, if you can. But in my case, I couldn't.
And that's why this Promise program is so special, because you're gonna help give students more education.
Stanley was in the same situation. He didn't have very much money when he took up the GI Bill. And as I told you, he went to school for almost a year, well, before he even went to Berkeley. So I don't know how he picked Berkeley, but he did. He knew that's where he wanted to go. But yeah, he had some studies to do. He knew how to fly an airplane and get it back okay. He knew how to do that.
How do you hope this very special Hutchison Promise program will help students?
Say that again?
How do you hope that the Promise program that you and Stanley have
Yes.
gifted Taft College will help students?
They'll have a chance to learn a little more. That's what I see. In today's world, you better learn a heck of a lot. Really, back in my time, there weren't too many really overly bright people. I don't know.
What'd you think of the students that you met the other day at the?
Very nice. Most of them were very polite. I'm big on that too. I think that's important. They were.
Yeah.
And
What do you think Stanley would think of what you're doing?
I think he'd give me a big hug.
I think so too. Yeah, I think that Stan would really appreciate that. I think he would have probably liked the kids the other day too, probably, don't you think?
What can I say?
Yeah.
You know, Stanley was giving money to Berkeley even before this, before he,
And what was that for? It was for the...
well, he thought it would be good because if Chevron was meeting it, and so to him that was a pretty good deal. And he felt comfortable doing that, yes.
So with Taft, I know Stanley, I think he started with Chevron out at 11C Camp out in Taft, didn't he? Started his career
I
out
think
there?
he told me that when he was studying, and there was some days he was working part-time for Chevron, and up in one of the northern places, 'cause they were living up in that area too, and he did work part-time for them when he had a chance. So he knew them,
Yeah.
and they knew him.
Do you
Yeah.
think, was there anybody around back then when Stan went to college that would have supported students like not only Stan did at Berkeley, but Stan and you are doing at Taft College? Was that kind of help around, or?
No, I didn't know much about that. I truly didn't until just some years ago that a lot of people were doing this. Well, I know why, because otherwise you have to pay the government.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't aware of that, and I don't think he never mentioned it until, well, when he took on when Berkeley said they offered to meet some, and he had quit Chevron by that time, but he decided to do that.
Stanley and you don't have any biological children, do you?
No,
No.
nothing.
So, do you think a little bit of it has to do with maybe helping the kids out there that maybe you can help and?
Well, yeah, I can see it, and we have other people that were leaving things too, but on the whole, to give it all to the government that might be there, he did pretty good on these last 5-6 years that he was working on the stocks. His mind tuned into that pretty well, and I just don't know what he would think. I think he'd be pleased that I'm doing this, because he also was doing it all along.
Yeah. And I noticed you had friends out in Taft show up at the event the other day, and you've got friends out there.
Oh, yeah, he
Tell
knew
us
quite a
about
few of them.
Taft. Tell us a little bit about Taft and
I-
your friendships out there.
Well, I don't know too many people, but I know some of them that early on, and I can't think, well,
The Napoleons.
Napoleon, yeah, she's a dear person. I've known her a long time. And there's a couple other women. One, I can't remember her name now because I have Alzheimer's. And it's also called old people's problems. But no, I do know son of them there, and they're very nice. And I had met her son-in-law that came in later. I had met him at when Rodney died. We were at the service, and I met him then. They weren't. Her daughter wasn't married to him then. But no, there's a lot of people. Stan knows a lot of people over there. Well, Dorothy and he lived there for a long time.
So Dorothy and Stan lived in Taft.
They did, yeah, because well, where did they? Well, they lived in town. One year he was sent up somewhere, I can't remember just where he told me, but he and Dorothy moved up there for a year or two, and he was working up in the northern part of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a house up there, and probably I'll
Where
think.
was that? Where?
I wish I could tell you offhand, but it was north, and there was some place up there where they had Chevron had
Oh,
business.
California, in California.
Yeah, in California. And they lived there a year or two, and she got mad. She was quite a seamstress, and she couldn't find anything in the little town there that she needed. She had to go into a big town, and so she said, "Tell me, when you get done here, I want to go to a big town, so I don't have to go running around looking for what I want." But I think that's why they went over to the city here to live for some time.
Mhm. What city was that?
Bakersfield, yeah, to into town, rather than here in Bakersfield, rather than in Taft, yeah.
You know,
But tell me when.
Go.
Madeline, tell us how important it is that veterans benefit from this program and become engineers.
Well, Stanley feels he owes the veterans the same thing he got from them because of what I tell you,
GI Bill?
the GI Bill. If it hadn't been for that, he might not have had his opportunities that he did have, and he always felt like that was important to him. I know that. And he and Dorothy, they didn't have enough money. I remember he told me a story about they thought maybe they would have a farm of some kind, but they didn't have enough money to buy any land for, even though she was working as a nurse. She was an Army nurse. And so anyway, he talked about it, and I'm sure she must have wanted him to do this. And so that's why they went up to that area to live. And he stayed with the Army I don't know how it all worked really, but he was still in the service when he was studying for that year prior to going to Berkeley, because they wanted him to be a little sharper before he tried a test.
Do you feel it's important that we help find veterans jobs?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. That's
Could you start by saying, I think it's important that we help veterans find jobs? Can you say that for us? Because we need to get that on.
yes, I do feel like it's important that we take care of our people who have served in the service. Yes, without a doubt.
Is that why you and Stan had this special note on your scholarships at both Berkeley and Taft College, that we reach out and help the servicemen and servicewomen first?
Well, yes, I know that's part of that on the what he wrote, because he was proud to be a serviceman, and we do need to help them, because a lot of them have lost, well, even their kids, a lot of the kids have lost their father or mother in the service. Yes.
So you're helping us serve a population that, I know it's big for you and Stanley, it was important for them to get out of college virtually, what's the term? Debt-free? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Well, a lot of these people haven't had the chance to save any money to go, and they don't have relatives or anybody that's going to give them a chance to go. And a lot of kids are very fortunate that they do have that help. And well, Jonathan and Helen have two daughters who are fortunate that Jonathan and Helen adopted them. My God.
Also, Kirk County has a lot of veterans living and working here. Would you invite them to go to Taft College and join your program?
Well, I would, sure. If they can get their nose down and start working, yes, you got to work for it, though.
That's right, that's right.
I mean, it's just not a handover. You've got to put your nose down to work and make sure you know what you're doing.
Right, that's good, that's good. We want to say something like that to Kern County. We want to say something like that to our students. If you could look at the camera and you were speaking to a group of mostly veterans, but some students that are just doing well, that maybe didn't come from a family that could help them, how would you invite them into our program? What would you say, Madeline?
I would say you have a chance here to do better in life than you might have, and it's an opportunity, but you have to work for it. You can't drink and get drunk all the time. That's another thing that's bad with young people. Quit taking those silly, what do they call them? Oh, there's, I don't know.
Opioids.
Yeah, whatever.
Marijuana.
Marijuana, yeah. Stay sober and study
Right.
and work hard.
And what do you think will happen? Do you think that they can have a good life if they do that? Tell them.
Why not?
If you stay on track, you're gonna.
Well, I know Stanley worked like a dog, but he loved it.
Yeah. Is that something about finding your passion, maybe? Do you hope these kids can find their passion a little bit?
Well, yes, I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, Stanley was, well, my God, he, even early on, I can remember little things he talked about, but he would fix things. And he was a dreamer. And as I told you, his sister worried about whether he'd flunk out or not at high school, but he passed it. And no, he did really well, but he wanted to be a pilot, and he was still young, and they needed young ones. And my God, over there I have to show you something that he got. He was so good. He managed to get through without losing a plane and a life. I mean, one of his best things that he liked to say was, "Nobody that flew with me got a Purple Heart."
Right on, right on.
And that's true. He was proud of that and should have been.
What motivated Stan? What motivated him to do all this great stuff?
I don't know. Maybe Dorothy. Nobody.
Maybe you.
Well, he wasn't married when we weren't there.
He was just a kid.
He was a kid.
He was a kid, same age as a lot of these kids are going to be coming to the program.
That's right.
Where do they find that passion? Tell them. How can he find it? How can they find
You
it?
got it in your heart.
There you go.
you have to want to do a lot. I think, but he, you know, he did everything. And sometimes too much, but that's all right.
That's okay, that's okay.
But-
These students at Taft College, you've got all this wonderful life experience. Stan had all this wonderful life experience. These kids, they don't come from much. They're underserved. Honestly, a lot of their parents, they don't, you know, they might work at a Wendy's or a fast food. I mean, they don't have a lot. And you're giving them an opportunity to go, I can actually be an engineer. And when I said the other day at the event, you might start out making around 100 grand. Did you see them? They were all like, 100 grand? They were, I mean, they can't even fathom that. You're giving them this opportunity. What kind of advice do you want to give those kids? Look at there and pretend that you're talking to those kids. You're giving them the opportunity. You
Well,
already told them not to drink and not to do all that kind of stuff, but talk to them about what you expect them to do.
well, what I would like to see them do is to understand that education and knowledge is an important thing to have. And if you overwork, that's okay.
What's it going to do for their life?
Well, I think people who work and think smart and are smart and able and want to help other people always are a happier bunch.
What would have Stan told them?
About the same.
If Stan got a chance to tell those kids something, what do you think he would have said to them?
Keep your rear in gear.
I love it. I love it. Keep your rear in gear. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Stan probably would have told him something like that. Right?
Yeah. You know, he could use words better than I can, but he was a good worker, and even the fact that when he was flying, and he was smart enough to see that you don't want to go up and drop a you went through it in, and I don't know how many did that, but he did that, and that's what happened. He hit his target. They knew how to hit the target by doing that.
And he saved a lot of Americans' lives.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he was a hero.
And well, anyway, he
And we
came.
have a hero, and you're also a hero now, and you're going to be a hero to all these kids. You're also a hero, Madeline.
Well, I hope so. I've ended up myself with a good life, I think. And best part was when Stanley and I got together, I think. Really. My first marriage was a good marriage, but we just kind of grew apart. And since there's no kids to worry about, I went my way and he went his. I didn't get a divorce until I met and decided to marry Stanley.
Oh my goodness.
And I called Art and told him about it, and he said, "Don't worry about it, Madeline." He was up in where he wanted to go. Where did I tell you he wanted to go? Shoot. Oh, well, anyway, he went up there, and he was happy there, and he did die young.
Oh, we did.
That's what worried him, and I didn't want. Well, I knew I was going to live long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he got our divorce and sent me the papers, and so there was no anger with that divorce.
Can you tell the kids for me before we wrap this up, Madeline? Can you look at the camera, because I think you might have another question or two, do you?
No, it's good. Man.
Could you tell the students, and I need you to really, or if you can really let them know to follow the guidelines that we're putting out on behalf of you. Follow the guidelines, they will succeed, and we will get them to become engineers, and they will be successful. Is there a way for you to kind of say that in there? I know it's a lot, but.
Well, as I think about it, if this is what you really want, this is an opportunity that you might not have had except that we came through.
Yes. And please say The Stanley and Madeline Hutchison Promise at
Well, yes, Stanley and Madeline Hutchison, who brought this about. I do want you to succeed. And
we want you
it's
to
an
become
opportunity that many people don't have.
engineers. Right, and we want you to become an engineer.
Well, I guess engineers are important because they can end up being anything else they want to be too.
That's right, that's right. And it's important that they become engineers, right?
Yeah, I think it is important. That's a good beginning.
So tell them to stay in school.
Stay in school and keep your nose dry.
Or if it's not too much, Madeline, would you share, get your rear in gear?
Yeah,
to
say-
have college.
Get your rear in gear.
Okay. Stanley would say, get your rear in gear. Yes.
I love it. That's great. Ivan, how'd we do? You get some good stuff? What else do we need, sir?
Would you